Okay, let me be clear. This is going to be a rambling, flowing of thoughts. This is going to be very loose and might not have any direction. But today is October 9th, 2023. A month ago, ANN reported that Crunchyroll will be migrating all products from Right Stuff Anime onto the Crunchyroll store by October 10th. And I'm a little concerned for the anime industry. This has been thoughts that have been brewing ever since Sony's acquisition of Funimation and then the subsequent acquisition of Crunchyroll by Sony and then the merging of Funimation and Crunchyroll together. And then Funimation taking the name of Crunchyroll, and then Funimation, well, what formerly was Funimation, moving most anime titles that they had for streaming onto Crunchyroll. I say most because not all of their catalog has been moved onto Crunchyroll. I'm just a little concerned with the anime industry at the current moment. Let's be clear. What you need to know is that what we know as Crunchyroll is owned by Sony and Sony Music Group, which Sony Music Group is Aniplex. Aniplex being the producer of a lot of shows like Sword Art Online, the Persona animes, the Nier Automata anime that recently aired, Demon Slayer, and they produce the $150 Blu-rays that are exclusive onto Right Stuff. Sony, obviously being Sony, Aniplex themselves, they embedded themselves in the production of different anime works. So has in recent years with Crunchyroll in what was formerly Funimation. The thing about my concern is that what we know as anime title, like the United States anime industry, does not necessarily exist within a bubble. It exists within like around the global chain of anime and how it's actually exported to even other countries. Like anime, for an example, not all anime titles that are released internationally are done through directly with the studios and the production committees and the people working on the series. Some, if not most of the time, a lot of those shows that are exported to different countries, they're normally sub-licensed from an American licensor. With the American licensor being the people that, they make translations in English. Every country has, I'm not going to say anything about translators, but a lot of translations for shows, it's known that some of them are translations of translations, okay? Like, something that I understand from back in the day with the Sailor Moon dub is that the Spanish dub for Sailor Moon was sub-licensed from Deke Entertainment to the Spanish producers of the dub. And with that, the people producing the dub for it, they took on the names, characteristics, and essentially all the content from the Deke dub of Sailor Moon. Aside from, visual content. And a lot of shows that are exported internationally are done through that method. It's much easier as to get an English translator, like English to native language translator than to find a Japanese to native language translator. Even from what I understand, even translations from Crunchyroll international, like there are internationally, like subtitles for international regions. The subtitles for whatever series Crunchyroll have licensed, those international translations are based on the English translations for those shows. At least I've heard that running around. And I'm just worried. I'm just worried for the industry. I'm worried because this is an industry that I really care for. And it's an industry that I have seen the growth since 2017/18. Especially as Crunchyroll, whenever they were owned by Otter Media, they made a big push with whenever they created the Verve app, and whenever Funimation and Crunchyroll had a nice relationship with one another before Sony bought Funimation. Because back in the day, if you don't remember, Crunchyroll and Funimation, they got into a relationship where they were mutually sharing titles on their services, and they would share the titles on Crunchyroll, but then also on Verve. Verve having most of the shared titles from what I remember at the time, because now Verve does not exist anymore since, recent things in the industry that's gone on. And to make my concerns more clear, I'm worried that not that it's an issue, but that prices for the general consumer of anime, for specifically anime Blu-rays and DVDs, I believe Funimation still produce those, especially with I shouldn't say Funimation. I mean Crunchyroll producing Blu-rays and DVDs. I'm hoping the prices don't go up. I'm hoping that no. What I don't want is that Crunchyroll's releases for anime to become the same type of releases that Aniplex do with their own anime series. Aniplex, if you don't know, is a producer of anime. They also are a licensor of anime. Aniplex Blu-rays are collector's editions, where normally they're the highest quality of whatever series, with boatloads of extras and booklets, and you're essentially paying $10 an episode for whatever you're getting. And normally they bring in a nice package, and where it's like you can justify the value of an anime release from them. But I don't want Crunchyroll to just do that. I've noticed how Crunchyroll in recent years have been making both, limited editions for those series and then standard editions for those series, in which I think it's fine and dandy. I get the incentive of having individuals. No, that's not even it. In reality, from what I notice from retailers that sell anime, like Best Buy, Walmart, is that Right Stuf Anime is a direct distributor of anime. Companies like Sentai Filmworks, Shout Factory with their G-Kids line, and smaller boutique anime licensors and producers of home videos for anime series like Discotheque Media and Media Blasters. A lot of those people, they go through Right Stuf to distribute the anime. And Right Stuf, what they do, they can be a direct distributor for stores for anime. My mindset is that, and because Right Stuf directly distributed anime, a lot of retailers rely on Right Stuf as they receive their products. Sure, most of these independent labels could go through Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy as direct distributors, in which clearly that's what they do. But a lot of smaller third-party shops that I see online, and where I mostly get my anime releases, I'll be honest, rely on Right Stuf to receive the anime. And since Sony owns Crunchyroll, in that sense, clearly Crunchyroll at this point is the largest distributor of anime in the United States, let alone in the world. They're the largest distributor with the most amount of reach around the world, I should say, with their acquisition with essentially former anime distributors like Funimation, Madman Entertainment, Manga UK, and then other anime distributors that are under the Sony label like Anime Limited, All Anime, and Aniplex. Sony clearly has too much control over the industry. I would like to call it a monopoly. At least that's what my brain, whenever I look at all this, says. Sony has a monopoly on the anime industry. Crunchyroll is the largest licensor of titles out there. There's no question about it. HIDIVE, for an example, Sentai Filmworks, who have their streaming service HIDIVE, they only get a handful of select titles, and normally it's like 5 titles a season to distribute anime. And then they also have their massive catalog, which, dates back like years and years, going all the way back since they were, since going back to before they were even a thing and when ADV existed. So Crunchyroll exists where Netflix is normally just producing their own titles, and currently Disney are trying to produce also their own titles while also trying to get partnerships with certain producers as to get titles out. For an example, Disney's recent relationship that they developed with Kadokawa, and a relationship where Disney is gonna be getting like series that are produced by Kadokawa, in which Kadokawa is a large distributor of anime, novels, and manga, and normally they're a producer on a lot of series. There's an amazing deep dive about this. Just there's video by Pause and Select about Haruhi Suzumiya and the anime mix if you really want a deep dive on it. But the short is that Kadokawa exists to make books and then have those books being adapted to anime so it promotes their books, and where they keep producing more stuff within the anime ecosystem. And Sony exists also within that ecosystem. I want to keep calling them Crunchyroll, I want to keep calling them Funimation, I want to keep calling them by all the other labels, but in reality, it's just Sony. Crunchyroll is not Crunchyroll. It's not the company that was founded in 2007 by three guys in college, where they come up with the idea, hey, there's college kids or whatever, and they want to get anime, and where we exist within an era where the main consumption of anime is piracy and or buying expensive Blu-rays or trying to catch whatever series that it puts onto Toonami. And so let's make a site where people can upload their fan subs. And then that website grows out and becomes a site where being pirated titles are now officially licensed titles, where people are open to upload fan subs and where people can even download episodes of their shows onto their hard drives. And then it becomes a site where, we're actually paying these subtitlers, but they're still not the same rates that where one would normally pay a professional subtitler over at Funimation or ADV at the time, or Bandai America at the time. And so out of that, around the 2010s, Crunchyroll is now building a catalog of these licensed titles, and where we start seeing them becoming like a seasonal, the anime streaming site, as Attack on Titan, Sword Art Online come out around that time, and then they start seeing competition from the likes of Funimation, and then they come out with their own thing with Funimation Now, and then Sentai Filmworks Anime Network then becoming HIDIVE, and then around the mid 2010s you see a huge push and promotion for their streaming services and working in partnership with people on the internet to promote their site. And the explosion of anime that we're seeing now is due to that incremental growth of Crunchyroll. And then with Crunchyroll, current Crunchyroll, they also have the whole history of Funimation behind them, where the company Harmony Gold, they fail to bring Dragon Ball to the West. Someone gets a call from their uncle, and they get the ability as to bring Dragon Ball over to the United States, and where they make an entertainment company, where eventually it gets too expensive to produce that show, and where they decide to just, hey, let's make this in-house in Texas. And where from there, with a partnership with Cartoon Network, with Toonami, you eventually see the formation of the largest pool of American voice actors. And then you see the explosion of being one of the first companies to be creating the idea of a simuldub, where you have a series releasing weekly, and the week after that subtitle episode comes out, you have the English version of that series releasing. So current Crunchyroll has that whole history. Now, with Crunchyroll finally moving the catalog from rights onto the Crunchyroll store, it now bears that whole history with rights stuff. There's a lot. Like, this is a huge, monumental shift. Sony in their hands has a level of control over the anime industry that it's concerning. I don't like it. I don't know what I can do, because I'll be honest. Crunchyroll and the people that work within the industry rely on that $8 subscription to their service. I mean, an earlier version of this that I wrote, I brought up the situation that currently Crunchyroll, most of its catalog has been locked behind its premium paywall, when previously it was not. Because Crunchyroll was founded under the idea that, hey, anime should be, something that should be open to anyone, and anyone should be able to get into it, and where we can just sustain it ourselves with ad-supported content. Although, since the Sony acquisition, and because of the practices previously with Funimation with their own services, where Funimation, they only had small selective titles that were free to individual users, and where the rest of the catalog were locked behind paywall, while instead, with Crunchyroll, that paywall was to get ad-free and to get episodes the day that they air, and then the week after they became free for general users. And Crunchyroll had to deal with a settlement with the Federal Trade Commission with Crunchyroll and selling user information to what was formerly Facebook, now Meta. As even though Crunchyroll at this point is a subscription service, the primary mode as to engage with the product is through a subscription. Why is there the need as to get people's information where they do not have necessarily consent on whether or not they want their information as to be sold to advertisers, when advertising are not being served to those people as its primary mode? And there's just a settlement on it. That's done. The people that work at Crunchyroll, and then Crunchyroll LLC, formerly Funimation, and then everyone else within this huge industry that exists with translators, voice actors, producers, licensors, and even studios, because Crunchyroll brings anime to a global audience. As a consumer of anime, I want what's best for the overall industry. I enjoy the convenience of watching anime, being able to consume it, and being able to enjoy it, and hopefully even seeing myself becoming a part of it. But I can't waive my concerns with the overall industry as a huge mega corporation that has all of its little hands within games, music, television, and film, starts gobbling up a lot of the infrastructure that exists to bring the stuff over here, where translators aren't being valued where translators aren't being valued of what they were previously were when they were a part of a different company, quote unquote, different company. And they were brought over to a different one, and where their standards are that, oh no, you're being paid dirt low. Where we don't necessarily care about quality, it's more like the speed of where everything comes out. I'm overall just concerned. These has been my concerns. This has been Awesome Week. Have a nice day.